All right. Hello, welcome back to Who's Even Listening here on our Mental Medicine channel. This is Season 2, Episode number 26. And we have a very, very special guest, actually a friend of the family here, Tom Summers. Runs the Milford Museum here locally, so we are very, very blessed that he was able to come on here today and talk with us. He's got a bunch of different stuff that he brings to the table, and we were super excited to dive into it. And before we do, as always, same message as always, let's try to spread love and peace into this world. Let's spread kindness. ELE, everybody love everybody. And let's try to make this world a better place for us all to want to live in and exist in. And that's always our goal here. And hopefully we're influencing others to want to do that as well in their life. And with that being said, Tom, thank you again for taking the time out of your day to come on, man. And we truly, really appreciate it. And we're excited to talk to you.
Sure, Andrew. It's good to be here. And I have to apologize ahead of time if I call you Mark by mistake.
You're all
it's
good.
Just one of those things. I might call you by your dad's name.
Before we do go into it deeper, I do want to say, yes, obviously, Tom, you went to school with my aunt.
Yes.
My aunt Marla. Rest in peace, her soul. I love my aunt Marla. I miss her to death. And but I'm very happy to honestly talk to you about what you do. And also, it's really cool to talk to somebody that knew my aunt Marla, too. Because I haven't seen somebody that knows her that well.
Aunt Marla was the best. She was a great person.
She was. Had quite a spirit on her. That's
yes,
for sure.
Absolutely.
She was awesome. She was awesome. But with that being said, Tom, obviously not everybody knows you listening, same with me, so I want you to give maybe a little brief introduction as best as you can of kind of what got you to the point you're at now in life.
Okay, just a little bit of background about me. I was born and raised here in Milford. I am a 12th generation Delawarean, graduated from Milford High School in 1979. Attended Washington College over in Chestertown, Maryland. Graduated there from 83.
Yes, sir.
Went into the service, joined the Navy. I was an air traffic controller for 3.5 years out in the Chicago area. Came back home. Got involved with history. That was actually my major in college. So I got a job at the Delaware Public Archives.
Awesome.
And I was there for a couple decades.
Yeah.
Probably about close to 30 years, and then did a couple years at Delaware State Parks as their state parks historian. Yes, and that was a great way to actually finish up my career with the state. I was asked to be the director of the Milford Museum.
Yes,
I believe that was in the fall of 2022 or spring of 2023, and I became that July 1st of 2023, and I've been there ever since.
That's right. So, yes, sir.
And I've enjoyed it. There's been some challenges, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But I'm happy to be here.
No, that's awesome, man. That's quite a story. You definitely, obviously, once again, thank you for your service, my man.
Sure.
Really, obviously, we all appreciate that, and obviously, I wanted to bring this up too when you said that. 12th generation Delawarean. It's not something you hear every day, obviously. So I'm curious, what does that mean to you personally? Because obviously not everybody, I'm sure has that deep of a roots here as well.
It's something I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
I was really close to my grandmother who grew up here in town. Her name was Eleanor Summers, and she lived out to where the Travelers Motel is. They're actually building a car wash. Right where she was, and she's like in that area where Arby's is too.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
But it was a 2-story white house, farmhouse there. So I did a lot of my growing up in that house, and so she would tell me some tales about the family and everything. And then when I got to the archives, I thought, wow, I'm a fox in the hen house here because of all the records they had at the archives. I started looking into it. And I really found out how deep my roots were, and it was really, to me, it was a really exciting journey to find the first roots that I had here in the area. Absolutely. And then they did the dig down in Rehoboth of Captain John Avery, and I was descended from him. Okay. So it's really been an interesting time in my life in these last 25, 30 years, finding more about my ancestry and find out who I'm related to as well here in the area.
Absolutely.
Because I say everybody here in Delaware is related one way or the other.
Yeah, pretty much. It seems to be that way. No, that's it. So I didn't even think about that perspective. How you kind of had like a deep dive yourself with what you were working with to be able to figure that out too. That not everybody would have. I didn't even think about that.
And it makes local history more important because a lot of these folks that you're talking about are related to you in some way.
100%. No, that's a good point. That's a very, very good point. Very good point. So obviously going into the early path, I want to talk about this. Obviously, you said you went to Washington College. What originally pulled you to studying the history of things? What kind of made you go that route?
I always had an interest in history.
Okay, just
from a kid. Yeah, I was actually my mom got her her master's degree at Middlebury College up in Vermont. So she dragged my two brothers and I to Vermont.
Oh, man.
In summer of '69, and our babysitter for that summer was Rymel Kenton, who was a teacher at Milford High School for many years.
Wow, okay.
And then she became a realtor here locally. But she took us over to Fort Ticonderoga in New York. And for me, that was just the wake up call in terms of, hey, this is history.
Yeah.
And I really got interested in history at that point. It was really something that kind of inspired me to become somebody that's interested in learning more about history. Yeah. Of course, I just went back there. I believe it was last year. I took one of my sons up there, and we took a picture. And I sent it to Rymel. So, hey, 50 years later, here we are.
That's awesome, man. So, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. No, I kind of can relate to you on that too. My favorite class in school in general was history, always was. And every time me and Dad would always we'd go to like Gettysburg or Yorktown or wherever it was, and that was like, to me as a kid, just fascinating. So that was one of my favorite things too. So I definitely relate to you on that. But so was there I'll ask you this too, like along that journey when you were in college or whether that was your first few jobs you had, was there like a specific moment in time that really stood out to you that really made you realize that I want to do this the rest of my life? Like that really made you realize that I don't want to really do much else. This is what I want to do.
I don't know if there was a specific time period like that because
you're already kind of.
I wouldn't say I knew that at some point that it was I may not be able to make a living at history.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point too. I didn't think about that.
But it was in high school, I got pulled aside by my history teacher. I don't think he was there when you were there, Gus Renstrom.
Yeah, no.
And so he pulls me aside. I'm like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. And what had happened is my mom was a principal at the school at that point, and she got a hold of Gus because she knew that Gus was a big influence on me.
Gotcha.
And Gus talked to me about he'd heard that, or my mom thought I was going to major in business going to college, which was a disaster for me because it just wasn't my thing. But I thought, well, I got to make money somehow.
I get you.
And so Gus pulled me aside and said, Tommy, you ought to really, if you really are passionate about history, then you should go in and get a history degree. You'll be miserable if you do that. What you're talking about in terms of business.
Yeah.
And that's the moment I always remember.
No, true. Well said.
And so that's why I chose to major in history when I went to college.
No, I love that. No, you're right, because I think we all end up making a decision sometimes, sadly, especially, I don't want to speak for you guys or your generation, but I know at least our generation, a lot of my friends I know went to school thinking it was the right thing to do, just trying to get the right job or whatever it was, and they end up getting out of school and they can't find it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or they're, like you said, miserable that they wish they were doing something else. And it's just sad. So I like to see, we want to influence people to pursue your passions, and hopefully the money will come with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of the thought that I think most people should have. But people are scared to with this economy now.
Well, and I never thought in a way like, wow, I'm going to get rich being a historian.
Yeah, correct. But that's probably why I worked for you too.
Yeah. And it was just one of those things that when I came home from the service, eventually I ended up at the Delaware Public Archives, which I wasn't really aware of the archives. I'd heard of it before, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So I got in there and I realized that, hey, this place is a place that I would really want to be.
Yeah.
And to go through the vaults there and explore some of the documents and the photo. I mean, they've got over 1 million photographs there.
I can't imagine, man.
They've got the original charter from the 1682.
Awesome,
just to see that, a royal charter.
That's awesome.
Which talks about the borders of Delaware.
Yeah.
To me, that was just, I won't say it was life-changing. It puts a little too much emphasis on it.
No,
but it really makes you think about, hey,
yeah.
This is incredible that they've got this information here.
100%, man. No, it's not. You don't see that every day.
So,
like
no,
you don't.
And so for me, it was the right choice.
Yeah, no, you just found yourself in the right spot, right? And that's
right.
Absolutely, that's all we can ask for, man. That's all we can ask. That's awesome. Obviously, I want to go into thank you for your service again, and I wanted to go into you being a U.S. Navy air traffic controller. I know that's a little different from the other things that you've experienced in your life. So can you maybe give me how that kind of played in part of your life? Because I know that's a little different than archives and what you dealt with there. So you want me to give you that side of your story there? Well,
I felt I was drifting a little bit after college, and I knew I probably needed to see a little bit more of the world than Milford.
Yeah.
And so that's why I decided to join the service, and air traffic control was one of my choices. All the choices I had seemed to be high-stress jobs, and that's what my recruiter was giving me.
Bad timing coming in.
There's no naval historian,
Oh, man.
And So I chose the air traffic control route, and I'm glad I did. It was it was a challenging position, especially in the Chicago area. I'm glad I did it. But I knew at the end of my my time in the service, I didn't want to continue doing that. And a lot of the folks did. They had to go down to Oklahoma City, I think, for the FAA school for air traffic control. Even though we'd all been to school, the military one, but they had to go through the federal one. Oh, wow. And I didn't want to do that. I just didn't want to go. I'm glad I did it, but I didn't want to continue doing that as a career.
Gotcha. No, so it's kind of just more for you. You're glad you did it, but
I'm glad I did it. It got me out of town. It was kind of strange. You joined the Navy and they send you to the Midwest.
How about that? Yeah, that is interesting.
And it was kind of unique because the base we were at was just outside of Chicago. And we had 2 squadrons of P-3s, and P-3 are planes which track down submarines.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, so where are the submarines out here in Chicago?
Yeah.
And what it was reserve base. So the pilots would come in from O'Hare, and then they would fly either to the West Coast or the East Coast, get their flying hours in.
I see.
And they do their reserve time out there on each coast, and then they'd fly back, and that would give them more fly time.
So it was the middle spot.
Yeah, so it was actually, it made sense after it was explained to me.
That does make sense. Now, okay. And the only other question I would have for that job, intensely, for your Navy air traffic control, so I'm assuming a lot of it's aircraft carrier stuff. I'm assuming.
No, because you had to actually go to a special school called RATSI or something to that effect. I believe it's been a while, but I think that was the name of it. It was the acronym for something.
Gotcha.
But you'd have to go to a school after you got done with air traffic control school, and that was no walk in the park.
It was tough. Imagine,
but those folks were sent out to the fleet. Now I was in a program where I would not been sent to the fleet. And that's why I ended up at what was Glenview Naval Air Station, which no longer exists. I think it's a golf course now.
Wow, how about that?
It went out after all the, I think the first Iraqi war.
Wow.
They went ahead and cut the base as the cutbacks took place.
Damn, how about that, man? That's very interesting. That's very interesting. So, okay, so yeah, obviously, just a good experience for you. Just kind of talk through some things and just
made some great friends.
On. That's awesome.
Chicago's a great city to be in culturally.
Yeah.
Sports wise, it's a lot of fun.
No,
I was there when the Bears won the Super Bowl. I was down on Rush Street, which
was
great.
Man, that's pretty dope.
That was super.
That's awesome. You can't beat that experience. That's awesome, man. Yeah, we went to Chicago when I was real little, and I don't remember it too much. We walked around a little bit downtown, but yeah, I do want to go back there. That's a place I didn't get to see.
It's really something to see.
When I was old enough to understand it, really. Yeah. So absolutely. So obviously, after return to Delaware, like you said, you spent multiple years with the public archives, and I know you said you probably played a bunch of different roles during that. So was there any role when you were in there that surprised you the most? For example, I'm kind of curious myself because, like you said initially, you were talking about how you didn't really know what the archives were. I think we all hear about it, we know about it, but we kind of get the national treasure look to it. You're looking for scrolls or something. Can you maybe explain it to people a little more of what actually it is and how it's structured?
Sure. The archives is the place that the Delaware Public Archives has a mission, and its mission is actually to preserve and protect the official legal records that are kept at the city level or town level, the county level, and then the state level.
Yeah.
So so we'd start a lot of our public programs off with, hey, how many people were born here in Delaware? How many people went to public school here in Delaware? How many people got married here in Delaware? And how many people plan to die here in Delaware?
Yeah.
Well, if you answered yes to any one of those questions, eventually we would have a record of you at the Delaware Public Archives.
Interesting.
And then, one of the other questions I asked, I did probably literally thousands of tours of the archives. And we'd ask them, what happens sometimes if you might get in trouble? What does your teacher say it's going to, this is going to go on? And the answer is, this is going to go on your permanent record. So your permanent record actually ends up at the Delaware Public Archives.
There. That's right. Right. How about that? That's interesting. No, that's it. Because I always was curious because I was really you get that image in your head of what we think it is. I think it might be different than we probably assume.
A little bit, but if you go into the vaults, it looks like National Treasure or the last scene at Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's it's got all the volumes of books and boxes and things. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay, that's interesting. I had to ask you that. That's awesome. Okay, that's awesome. And obviously, I wanted to talk about this too, because obviously you said you were into being an adjunct professor at Del Tech for over 20 years. What do you enjoy most about doing that for doing it so long? That's got to really mean something to you.
Yeah, it was. I got into it because one of my first child was actually going to school there, and I was like, hey, I got to get some more money.
Fair enough. Understandable.
And so I went out there and I talked to Connie Spompanato was her name. I'm not sure if I pronounced her last name correctly.
I like that name.
Really nice lady.
Very
And I said, look, I'd like to teach a course on Delaware history. And she says, we don't do Delaware history here, but we'll do U.S. history. So I went in and I sat through one of the classes and everything. I'm like, well, I can do this. And so I started out with pre-Civil War history, your typical general history course you would get when you first went to college.
Gotcha.
And I moved in I kept that one up, and then we did post-Civil War.
Oh, okay.
Got into politics, did a world history. I've done quite a bit of different courses.
Yeah.
And then I in the late teens, 20 teens, I guess that's how you say it. I was asked to teach at Wesley.
Okay.
And
R.I.P. Wesley.
And I enjoyed that. What happened was a teacher backed out at the last minute.
Oh man!
And hey, Tom, can you help us out with this? I did, and it was a course unlike the Del Tech courses, which are very planned and advanced, and it's kind of like here's your class.
Okay.
And at least it is now. It's a little bit more rigid than it used to be. This class had never been taught before. It was exhibiting controversy.
Oh, so it was like a brand new.
It was So I got and it was in class. It was not online.
Gotcha.
So we got into a lot of different things about exhibiting controversy concerning Confederate monuments, and that had all started to break loose at that point in a very serious way.
100%.
You had other things like the Holocaust. How's that being presented? The Enola Gay, how is that being presented, and the different factors that came in, how that issue that took place at the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
And so you got to get into a lot of different aspects of exhibiting controversy.
No, that's a great.
We got into Colin Kaepernick a little bit.
Neil and I'm a Niners fans. I know that.
And it's one of those things that you could take it almost anywhere you want. It gave you a lot of flexibility.
That's awesome. We need a class. Everybody needs a class like that.
Yeah. So I thought
it's thought provoking. Yeah.
But then they offered me a 1960s class, and those are the two classes I did at Wesley. And I really enjoyed that.
How about that?
So I kept up my classes at Del Tech. Once I got all the kids through school, I backed off a little bit. Obviously, Wesley's no more, and that's unfortunate, but that happens. And but I'm still at Del Tech. This will be my last year in the classroom, or last semester in the classroom.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I'm just going to do online after that.
Okay, make it a little easier on you. Good. That's nothing wrong with that.
There's a lot more challenges now in teaching. You've got the AI factor, so you have to check everything with AI. And it used to be just plagiarism, but now it's AI, and there's a lot more to it now than there used to be.
Oh, I can't imagine.
And which means it's a lot more time.
Yeah.
The money's still good, and I still have the passion for it, but it just takes so much more time now, and it's time for me to step back a little bit.
Completely understand that, man. I can't even imagine going into teaching now, too. Like you said, I didn't even think about that, because it goes back from, I remember you hear, obviously, my grandparents, parents, everybody talk about how they had encyclopedias. You know what I mean? You had the encyclopedias. Then right when I got in, I was kind of right in the transition period. Like when I first got into school, they didn't have the computers, and then we had DSTP with the scan cards. Right. And then immediately, right after my first few years, and they threw everything to computers. So I was right before it hit. But it's so weird to me when you think about how that technology can be. And then, for example, sometimes I'll use chat or something to organize things or whatever. For AI or whatever. But it's so scary to think how, realistically, if you know what you're doing, you could sit here and read your whole homework assignment and it could fill it right out for you and copy and paste it. So, I didn't even think about that like that, but you're right. That is probably terrible right now.
And that's true. And I'm not beating AI. AI has some definite positive points to it. But for a student,
takes the thinking out of it.
It takes the thinking out of it. And how do I know you understand the material if you're just saying, give me an answer for this?
Yeah, and you don't.
And you don't. And that's why I explained to them, well, why can't we use AI? And then, a lot of times you'll get I only use Grammarly. Well, I don't care if your language, I got to understand it.
Correct.
But I'm going to look at more the information you're giving me. As long as I can understand the information, I don't mind the grammar issues. because Grammarly is also considered. A lot of people say it's AI. It's not your writing. So anything it's not your writing is some type of AI.
It is. No, you're right. It's altercation somewhere.
So right. And that's what we have to guard against. And my thing is I have to know that the kids understand what we're doing in the class. The material. Yeah.
So, no, very true. That's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even really think about that as deeply as I should because that's terrible. Like you said, it almost takes because I don't know if you've heard this stat, but I do believe it, but I also don't believe, there's so much out there. It's hard to believe what's true in the world right now. But anyway, there's a stat out there that's basically saying that people that use AI a lot in their everyday life, that their IQ lessens. Which is interesting when you think about it. But from what you said there, though, that you're, in a sense, letting something else think for you, and you're not really using your brain.
I don't have to look up anything. I just plug it in and gives it right to me.
So it takes this, and it goes back to, I think, the convenience. We all want convenience. So I bring it back to like the grocery store. I always bring up the same concept of if the world was cut off from, we couldn't go to, all conveniences were cut off for a month. 90% of people would not even know what to do.
Starve to death because
they would die. And it's the same concept there. When you don't know, when everything's doing it for you.
Okay, we're gonna have to go plant our own crops.
Man,
and it's like, well, we're just
yeah, exactly. So no,
that wouldn't have a good ending to it, Andrew.
100%. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But I just think the reason I use that analogy is for that because I think it's the same concept. We're kind of forcing something to do something that maybe we should be doing.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
But 100%. But all right, so I wanted to get into this too. So obviously, I wanted to read out this. In 2020, you won a National Education Award for teaching Delaware history with primary sources. I know you got in a little bit about how you transitioned to that, but what made that project really special?
Well, that was actually 2000. Did I put 2020 on it?
Maybe I misread that then. I'll check your notes, but I'm pretty sure my bad.
What happened at the time is
anyway, 20. So we're sorry, 2000.
Yeah, it was a while back, and what happened there is we were constructing the new archives at the time.
Okay.
There was the building up there hasn't always been there. The archives has always been there, but there was the need to expand it because of all the documents here. We were running out of room. We had an underground storage facility which was leaking, and what happened there? The Secretary of State, a great guy by the name of Ed Friel, says, "Hey, he was getting all these questions asked by donors. What are you doing about education?" And he called over to our boss at the time, Howard Lowell, director of the archives at the time, great guy, and he said, "Hey, I need something for education." And so I'd had some education background. I originally wanted to be a teacher, and that just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And so they put me on it.
That's right.
So they gave me, strangely enough, they gave me enough time, like 6 to 8 months or something like that, to put together this project.
Wow, okay.
And so we put together a primary source project, which at the time, primary sources was extremely new in terms of getting it out to all the, it had always been around, but now we had to kind of bring it to the masses in terms
of awareness of it.
Yeah. And it was going to become part of the standards, and the standards were coming down the pike. I think they'd already come down the pike, but they hadn't been implemented as of yet. And of course, that was a huge fight, getting the state standards for like history standards and all that.
I can't imagine.
And so we came up with this project where it was a lot of documentation that had to be copied. So we copied a lot of the documents from the archives, and there'd be like 15 copies of each document, and we put it into a packet, and the teacher would have a lesson plan. Not just the lesson plan, but also the background historical information.
I love that.
Information about the document you're using yourself. So it was kind of a pair-share thing.
That's pretty cool.
We figured it all on a class size of 30. So every 2 kids would share a document.
Yeah.
And then they would discuss it. And the teacher, it was good because there were about 20 to 25 lesson plans in each kit, and it was a binder. Of course, this was the days before the internet had really taken off.
Understandable.
And but they had the physical documents, so they had like World War II propaganda posters in full color.
That's awesome, man.
And they had them right there in their classroom, and a lot of them were laminated too, so they last longer. So that was really picked up by a lot of the districts around the state at the time.
Yeah, I would hope so.
And now it's probably something that's not needed as much because everything is done online in terms of showing things.
Sadly.
And you had to store all those things, but at the time, it was something that was a lot. It was new.
Yeah, no,
And-
but
and
it's
so
a hands-on thing.
it was a
too.
hands-on very
That's
much.
what's cool about me
Yeah.
because like as a history, like in school, I would have loved that. Like sadly, I wish we had that when I was there because like that was the hardest part. Like when you talk about history, learning it as a kid, you're reading all this stuff, but you can't see it. Like you're just hearing stories,
right.
you're hearing a bunch of different ways of telling things, and you're just like, all right, man. Because I'm a hands-on person.
right.
I'm just like, dude. All right, this is great. This is cool and all, but I want to go see it. Like, how do I put my hands on it and feel like I'm there? Like, get that energy that's in that book that I'm reading. You know what I mean? That's kind of because like that's how I always feel. I'm a very like emotional person, but like I feel connected with things. So like, if I have like a paper, for example, that's like we got coins, and I got like a bunch of stuff over there, that old document stuff I can pull out for you too, actually. But literally, you pull that out, it's like you feel like you're in that era. You know what I mean? Like when you get like a crinkled little paper or whatever it is, or something that puts you kind of feel like it's nostalgic. Like when or for example, you smell something that reminds you of your grandma, you kind of puts you in that that thing. You know what I mean? It's like for me, that was something that's cool, and that's really cool for kids to be able to see that and like look at that and like, this is actually what happened. This is kind of like from that era, you know what I mean? Because in school, I don't think kids get that connection because they're just reading it from a book, and you don't really have that like, kind of how you felt when you said you fell in love with history. That you're in it, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to feel like you're in it when you're almost in imagination land.
And some of the factors that went into that kid. I mean, we started out as a fourth grade kid because that's when, and I don't know when Delaware history is taught or what level it's taught at now, but it was fourth grade.
Yeah.
And it was when I was a kid, it was fourth grade, and it was fourth grade when we made the kit.
Yeah.
So, but I think we talked to DOE at the time, Department of Education, and they said that like 50% of your teachers at that level come from Pennsylvania. Now this is a long time ago. It may still be the same. I don't know. Pennsylvania cranks out a lot of teachers just because it has the teacher colleges up there, and so their knowledge of Delaware history was not as good as they might have needed it to be. So we were trying to provide a service that, hey, just this is a kit. It's not all encompassing in terms of it's not going to take care of your entire history unit for Delaware history, but it'll give you a lot of information about it. And that's what we were trying to do.
Like an add-on piece kind of thing.
Yeah. It's something that could get them started and get them involved, and they wouldn't have to go searching for a lot of things in order to teach these lessons.
I think that was a genius idea, man. I love that.
Yeah, we did one at the 8th grade. Actually, we did one at the high school kit, and then a couple 8th grade teachers got on my case because they said, "You guys always do something for the little kids and the big kids. You never do anything for us in the middle." Guys. So, okay, so we put together a group of teachers that actually created one for the 8th grade.
That's awesome, man. So, now, I hope is that still ongoing? Do you
probably
know?
not.
Do you know?
Probably
I was curious.
Yeah, it's been a long time since. It's been 25 years.
That's for sure.
So
I was just curious.
I would love to see some of the, some teacher probably has it at the house because I know when the kids came out, some of these teachers took them home with them, and I'd do a teacher training, and they'd all point at the guy. They're like, "This guy has the kit, he won't share it with us."
Well, he's got it holding it up.
So that was always funny.
That's all. No, I'm glad you did that, man. I think that's hopefully somebody's going to continue to do that. I think that's awesome for kids to be able to have something to put their hands on. Because me as a kid personally, I know I can't be alone in that. That would have been really cool for me. I would have loved that. So I hopefully other kids are getting that experience because I don't want everybody just to read everything off of a book. Sometimes it's cool to actually
difficult.
see something.
Yeah, history's not an easy subject to teach anymore because it just seems to be challenging in terms of, well, let's do math and science, and history always gets put on the back burner, which is unfortunate. It 100%
does. And even I feel like, and I'm alone. Like I said, all of my friends, they hated history. I mean, everybody that I talked to, they're like, "Hey, you like history? What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did, man." But it's there. You're right there. Most people don't consider it like that for whatever reason. And you're not in there as long as the other classes. That was the other thing I didn't like in high school. Like you'd have like reading, or sometimes you'd have like reading or math. You'd have like 2 back classes.
Right.
History, you'd only have the 1 core, and sometimes you wouldn't even have it the whole year. You know what I mean? So yeah, it does. You're right. It definitely gets put to the back burner for sure. Talking about the state parks too, I want to go into this real quick. You later moved into Delaware State Parks as historian and manager of the Cultural Resources Unit. How did that role expand your view of the preservation of things?
It really made me take a look at what it actually costs to preserve a lot of the different sites around Delaware. And of course, obviously, our focus was on the state parks. And when you think of state parks, you don't think of history a lot of times. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's unfortunate, but the focus of state parks is environmental for the most part.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot of great history in the state parks. You've got the life-saving station down at Seashore Park. Mm-hmm. Tyler Dryblet is the interpreter down there, and he does a super job.
Awesome.
And you've got a lot of different things. You got up at Bellevue, all throughout the state parks, you've got a lot of history. And a lot of the buildings and such at these different places, they need upkeep.
I'm sure.
And so you're always fighting for funding to get, to do to get those buildings fixed up. And it's just amazing how much construction costs are these days. And I did about 2.5 years at state parks. Enjoyed every minute of it. I had a great boss guy named Bob Eamon. And luckily, we were able to help get a guy in there, Taylor Reynolds, who's another Milford guy.
Yeah.
And he's doing a super job right now as well.
Awesome.
And he actually was in one of my Wesley classes. And
how about that?
And we hired him at the archives.
That's awesome.
And then another job would come over at the state parks. I said, hey, Taylor, why don't you come on over to the state parks?
Dang right.
And he's a great guy. He's a Civil War reenactor.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's very
versed,
into it. So I'm really glad that somebody like that got that position.
Well said. I was going to say the same thing. It's good to know that good people are actually doing that kind of work. That makes me happy.
And a lot of the state, I was really impressed with the staff at state parks. They just had, and they had great people at the archives too.
Yeah.
The state parks they're doing a lot with a little.
Yeah, well said. That's true.
That's a lot to take care of, and there's never enough money.
I feel like they're in the school boat.
You're right about that, Andrew. And so I'm very, very impressed with them. Still got a lot of good friends there, of course. Greg Abbott's a great friend of mine, and
I love Greg. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met, too.
He was very welcoming when I came over. And I've got good memories of working in state parks.
That's awesome. No, that makes me happy to know that there's, like I said, that there's good people doing that kind of work. Like you said, it does need to have that kind of passion with it. That's not one of them jobs, like you said, especially when the money's not there and you got to kind of work with things you don't have. It takes passion. And what they always say, when there's a will, there's a way. And you kind of need somebody to have that passion to find that way when it's not there. You know what I mean? So we need people like that.
And it's a matter of priorities too. It's one of those things where, do we do this roof or do we do the floor of this other building and what are we going to sacrifice in the process?
How can we compromise? Yep, exactly. Well said, man. No, that's awesome. That makes me very happy. And I want to say this too, obviously, because I know you said you were only there for like 2 or 2.5 years, but was there a certain project or site that really stuck out to you that you worked at or had to work with during that time?
Really what we worked at a lot, I mean, there were a number of different places where we were working. Fort Miles is a great project down in Cape and Lopin State Park. And that was really started back in 2003 with Gary Ray, the late Gary Ray.
Gotcha.
And some other folks as well. They really got that off the ground in terms of we need to restore this fort. It's an underground fort down there.
Yeah.
So
I've only been there once, but it's been a long time.
It's really an impressive what they've done with it now. It's one of those combinations and partnerships between state parks and a private group, FMHA, which is Fort Miles Historic Association.
Okay.
And they're really working together to do their best for that fort. It's a pretty amazing place, though, when you go down there at Cape and Lopin. And like I mentioned before, the Seashore Park, where they've got the life-saving station.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
I do have to check that out.
I was involved with that. We did a park history, which I believe is it's not published yet. I believe there's a lot of work for a lot of different parks, and actually two of the fellows that preceded me actually did a lot of the writing, and unfortunately they've passed. So hopefully, I think the book is in its final form. I'm not sure if they've gotten all the copies for it yet, but it's a history of each park.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And it was a huge task we had when we first got there.
I'm sure.
But it was, we were involved in a lot of different things there. And we had an archaeologist on staff who did a lot of the archaeology in different places at the different parks.
That's neat. Okay.
And it was kind of unique when I was going through we were doing some of the editing of the book. I found out that one of the investors in the area that where Killen's Pond is now was actually a signer of the Constitution. He was from upstate. I can't remember what his name was. But it was I was like, hey, this is a big deal. If one of the there's only so many guys that signed the United States Constitution.
It's not a giant list there.
And so he had invested in some land. I think he was going to build a mill there, but it didn't come about. But the fact that he was interested in the land that was downstate, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of things that I thought were really, there were interesting projects. Things like, there was a bridge up in the Newcastle area that needed to be redone because it'd been around for 100 years.
Just needed some renovation.
And I found out a lot of what goes into how these projects are done. They could only take the bridge down at a certain time of year because it would interfere with the mating season of various animals.
Okay.
And I didn't even consider that before.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot that they have to consider. When they do those types of projects. Right.
Yeah.
And that all ties in with the environmental and the history. You can't do all the history if you have to respect the environmental things that have to be done. Yeah.
Gotta have the balance.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay. Yeah. No, that's neat, man. That's neat. But like you said, it worries me too, because I always talk about how much we're losing land and how much, stuff's getting taken over, getting built upon, everything, or neighborhoods, whatever it is, So we do want to make sure we preserve those parks and everything, because it does scare me that in time with certain things the way that they are, that, eventually that there's not going to be someone to care about that stuff. So that's the only part that scares me eventually. But.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into an issue like that, but it's kind of unique that we're doing our construction project here. Well, I'm sure we'll get into it with the renovation of the old police station. But every once in a while, I have to ride down to Lincoln to visit Dean Johnson at Johnson Construction, because they've taken the lead on that. But there's not a lot of road, or there's not a lot of open space anymore on that road from Milford to Lincoln.
No, there's not.
Where you're thinking maybe in 20 years there won't be any open space.
Correct. That's the 100%, man.
And it seems to be filling in for whatever reason.
Yes, indeed.
But there's just not much open space there.
No, there's not, man. No, it's not. It's scary. But no, it does make me happy when you talk about that and knowing that we have good people, working at those places, because that is a very needed job. And I don't think many people consider that as needed as it is sometimes. I think it's a lot of people, like you said, sadly, a lot of people that just don't think about it or are involved in it, just like we all do. We all kind of, till you're in someone's shoes, we don't know. But I always bring it to this, like we think of like a state park, like for example, I go to Killen's Pond, I'm worried about the water park and that. I'm not concerned, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we all need to maybe shift our mindset. It's not just about the amenities and what it offers. And
the water park is great.
It's great, but there is more to it than just that. I think we all can definitely realize that and, try to be open to looking into more than just the what's in it for us. You know what I mean? I think we all can learn to be a little less selfish with that stuff. But going into this, I want to talk about this after you retired in 2023, technically, right? I don't want to say
that's a good way to put it.
I'll put it technically. I'll word it like I do for my father, because he retires every other year, so I can't ever keep up with him. But so you stepped into the role of part-time director at Milford Museum. What really drew you there? And I know you said you got asked to go there, so I in a sense, I guess you kind of were drew there anyway. But
it was something that I thought would be interesting. Come back to my hometown. Now I haven't lived in Milford since the early 90s, late 80s, something like that.
Okay.
Debbie and I got married in 91, and we moved to Dover. Actually, it's more of the Magnolia area, and that's where we live today. Not in the same house where we originally moved up there, but we're in the Magnolia area. But Claudia Leister, who was the director for a number of years at the museum, had called me and asked me if I was interested. And I was, and there are certain restrictions I was. So I didn't want to work any more than 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Because to me it is a retirement job.
And
it's one of those things that I thought this will be fun. And having grown up here, I had a great experience growing up here in Milford. I had great friends. I still have a lot of those friends.
Absolutely.
And I thought it would be an activity which I would really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of the people.
Yeah.
And I thought coming back would be a good experience, and it has been. It has been overall.
So one of them things where you kind of found somewhere it's not really much work to you. It's always like, so you found something you love.
Well, I'm not saying it's not a lot of work,
but you love it, so and you're happy to do it. I guess is the point to say.
It's mostly history oriented, so I do love it.
That's right.
Section of it.
Absolutely.
There's challenges like there are with any job.
I can't imagine, man. I can't imagine. So obviously, with that being said, what do you hope? Like, what's your mission? Like when visitors walk in, what do you hope that they take away from the museum when they walk in? What's kind of your mission?
I hope they take away a sense that Milford is a special place, and that it's unique, and that some of the things that have taken place in the town are things that may not have taken place in other areas around Delaware. One of the things, one of your questions here was what's a piece of Milford history most people don't know.
Yes, it needs more attention.
And
yes.
one of it,
yes.
and I think this is small, really. I mean, a lot of people know about the shipbuilding here, but it's the fact that the Dixie cup spoons were actually made, the little wooden spoons
How
that you
about
got
that?
with a Dixie cup.
No crap. Okay.
There was
I didn't know
actually
that.
a spoon company here, the Mulholland Spoon Company.
How about that?
And it was here for many years, but the little spoons, the wooden spoons you would get with the Dixie cups, were actually produced right here in Milford.
How about that? That is interesting. I did not. That's a fun fact for everybody. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
Mr. Mulholland was friends with Mr. Breyer, who was Breyer's Ice Cream.
I see.
And Mr. Breyer was looking for a way for to eat his ice cream without the metal spoons because they left a metallic taste.
How about that? Smart guy.
And so Mulholland developed this wooden spoon.
How about that? That is
so
pretty
we all
neat.
remember getting those in school. You know, the half chocolate, half vanilla, little round cup,
Yep,
Dixie cup.
That's hilarious, man. I would have never known that. That's pretty neat. That's a good one. That's a good one. I would have never known that one. 100%. And obviously, with being involved in the community, obviously you're deeply involved. And I know you've said you were in the Rotary Club and Heritage Commissions and Museum Boards. What kind of service, was that kind of service really mattered to you? So, like, what really, I guess what I'm trying to say out of that question is, with how much you're doing, why does it mean so much to you with how much you're trying to do? I know you've gotten kind of involved in a lot. So, like, explain kind of why you really feel the need to get involved so much.
I got that from my mom. My mom was she retired from the school district. I think she was about 63 at the time.
Okay.
And she really got involved in the community, which I was kind of not expecting.
Yeah.
I thought she would just kind of take it easy. She learned how to golf.
How about that?
Yeah, in fact, one of the ones she welcomed
Wow.
into her golfing circle was your mom.
Oh, how about about it?
I know she had told me that, and but she got involved in a lot of different things, and one of them was the museum.
Gotcha.
Her and a couple other folks here, Sam Marshall was involved. And of course, all those folks are gone now, unfortunately. Yeah. But she got involved in that. She also got involved in People's Place.
Oh, okay, yeah.
People's Place,
right
and then she got involved, and she swore to me that she probably would never get involved with the hospital. And of course, she went on the hospital board.
Oh man!
And that was as part of the women's auxiliary.
Okay.
And so she really got involved with the community.
I see. That makes a lot of sense.
And the story always sticks with me is that she was out for a walk one day, and she was walking by the middle school, and one of the principals who she knew was getting out of his car to go in, and he had just resigned, to go to another school district.
Wow.
Okay. He was in that 2-week whatever phase.
Yeah, the period. Yeah.
So she's like, "Why are you doing this? We need you here." And so she admonished him a little bit for leaving. But she might have done the same thing. I don't know what the situation was. It wasn't a bad situation.
Yeah.
I think it was a promotion type deal, but I just got the sense of community like that.
Yeah.
That we need to serve the community that we live in.
100%.
And even though I don't live in Milford, I still feel a love of this town and this area.
No, absolutely, man. And there's something to it. I mean, no matter where you're from, there's always something to your homeland, wherever you're at. But no, there is, like you said, it's kind of gotten away from that point because I remember. I mean, I'm not even old at this point. I know you have a whole different perspective than I do on this because I'm.
You say 20s. I'm old, Andrew?
No, but compared to me, you got a lot more time experience than I do. You got more experience than I do.
I turned 65.
I'll put it like that. Well, I'm 27, so obviously I got a little not much on the time tickers you do. But I will say that even from me being the only age I am now to like where it is now, like I remember like walking around like I would know everybody. Now it's kind of hard. It's not like that anymore. You don't really know who everybody is, and it's just it is a little different than it used to be for sure.
I mean, we talk about that a little bit in some of the questions that you'd written down, and Milford's changing.
It is, which is good. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that that grew up here that say, well, I want it to be like it was in 1965. Well, that's not going to happen.
It's not in any world.
The only constant is change.
That's very true, man.
And we need new ideas to come into the area and folks that are interested in coming. They're choosing to come to Milford.
That's true. Well said. That's a very good point.
And
that's a very good point.
They bring a lot to. Not everybody does, but there's a lot of folks that come in and hey, we could do this differently or we could do that. And yeah, there's going to be friction there because of
New
other
ideas,
people
yeah.
have other ideas, and not just
Absolutely.
people that have been here for a long time, but other folks that are moving in and have a different way of doing things.
Yep.
And having talked to some of those folks, they've got some really good ideas about maybe different ways we could do things here in town.
Absolutely. I agree. I think there's good and bad, like you said, as long as we can find the balance and don't overdo too much of either side. That's the key. Yep, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more. And I did want to talk about this with you because I think along with that conversation, obviously I know you know my family a little bit and the Doofendock family, so for a long time. And what would you say the importance of multi-generation families is in preserving town's kind of story and history? 'Cause I do think that plays a part too, because I wanted to bring that up with you talking about being a 12th generation, stuff like that from Delaware. I do think there is obviously the old new person matters too, but I do think having that culture and heritage built and kind of building upon that does help. It does help for sure.
Yeah, I think it's important. You've got these families that have been in the area for a number of generations, and it's always good to see the second and third generations being active in the area. Here you've obviously you've got the Burtons, you've got the Greers, the Burrises. You've got a number of different families here that have, and they're all a lot of what they do is based on community service, and a lot of that comes from a grandfather or a father. Trying to continue on that public service, that community service, which I think is great. It's great that these folks are getting involved, and they're seeing that Milford has a lot of potential, but they're also getting involved, serving on city council, doing things like the recent building of and I'm not sure, it's a child care center, I believe, out at the hospital. I think that the Burtons actually put together. That's a recent
side. Yes.
And that's fantastic that these multi-generational families have done things like that, giving back to the community.
100%. We all could do a lot better with that. Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
Right.
No, we need a lot more of that. Because if we all cared as much about ourselves as we do everyone else, is what I always say, the world would be a lot better place.
Right.
And
right.
That's what I think we need to remind ourselves is as much as we care about ourselves, we should care equally about everyone else. And we should always feel that way. 100%, man. So, and I always try to bring up too that I always bring up this, no matter what money you have, your character speaks more than anything to me. I always say if you can have character, if you can have morals and can lead people and can lead yourself and lead others with good morals, to me that means the most of anything.
Right,
the more we have that in this world, in our area or everywhere, the better the world will be, in my opinion, 100%. Because we need people to lead by example and set the right moral compass for everyone else.
And I agree with you. It's one, and you mentioned the Rotary Club before. Now I've never been in the Rotary Club down here. Now my grandfather was back in like the 30s and 40s.
Gotcha.
So he was very much into serving the community. He was also in the National Guard. But when I was in the Rotary Club up in Dover, and the reason for that is because the archives was located right across the street from the Rotary Club.
Oh, wow. Okay. Kinda.
So it was easy for me to get to the meetings.
That's right. Quick exchange there.
But it was just a way. It's a great way as a group to serve the community, both the Rotary as well as the Lions Club here in town.
True.
The Lions Club do a great job.
Absolutely.
And Gail Watkins is a major part of the Lions Club here, and I just talked to her the other night. But you've got some really great people in both those organizations here locally. And there were great folks in my Rotary Club as well. When I served as president, we actually did a program where we actually collected instruments for students. Now, you have to kind of serve your area. So our area was the Capital School District.
I see. So you could only do Dover.
Yeah. We could have done something else, but people would ask, well, you're the downtown Dover Rotary Club. Why are you
supporting Milford? I understand.
Why are you helping out Smyrna?
That makes sense.
But what we did is we collected instruments for the school district so that those kids that couldn't afford those, a lot of people would rent instruments. And that's expensive as well. But these were instruments that the district could actually share with the kids when they got into fifth grade or fourth grade, whenever the music.
Awesome.
I think it was fifth grade at Capitol, and so the kids' parents wouldn't have to go out. It's like one more bill to pay.
No, correct. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And we collected a lot of instruments. And,
that's awesome.
I found the value of music at that point because a lot of the folks that we collected the instruments from had a story with it. They said, "Look, this clarinet helped me get me through high school. I was a lonely kid."
Oh yeah, music get people through dark times, man. 100%.
And that's what we got more of those stories than I expected to hear.
Well said. No, that's beautiful. Man.
So it was a great way to give back to the community, I thought.
I love that.
And it gave people the opportunity to give back to the community with offering their instruments.
I couldn't agree. I love that, man. That's awesome. That's definitely support that. That is awesome, man. Because I mean, I'm be the first one to advocate. I make music all the time. I've made music for 10 years now, and that is for me doing that writing. And for me, it's more the writing side of it than the playing. But for me, that's so therapeutic to where it's like that's my release. You know what I mean? Some people that is music can be just that is all they need, and then that will kind of set them straight the rest of the day. You know what I mean? It's just that it's kind of like a meditation. You know what I mean? Is really what it is. But some people, that for some kids, that can be their one outlet that really saves them. So no, I love that. And that's awesome, man. And we all need that one outlet. So, and it's different for everybody. I'm just saying for me, that was whether it's sports, whether it could be anything. But we all need that one outlet to have that little release. And when you're a kid that can't afford or something, it's nice that somebody can give you that opportunity. So that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So. The other things I wanted to ask you before we wrap up a little bit, I wanted to ask you this. And obviously, if you have anything that you want to bring up, you're more than welcome to before we wrap up. But I wanted to ask you this. What do you think preserving these stories today in our world still matters? Like, what do you think what would be your reason to tell people like that, or maybe a young guy that doesn't think about it the way we do and doesn't really care? You know, what would be a reason to tell them, like, why we really should be caring about preserving the things we preserve and with the work that you do?
Well, I think you asked a couple of questions here, and I think we can ball them all together in this. There's a lot of people today that, and I get a lot of these from the students I have at Del Tech, and they'll say, I always hated history in high school.
There's a lot of people say that.
And it's because maybe it was presented in a way that it just didn't appeal to them.
Correct. There's sadly some not greatest teachers to example.
Well, a lot of times, and they regret maybe not, and some of them say, "Look, I just didn't pay attention."
Yeah, and there's sometimes to that. And
they regret that. But you also regret that that you had a grandparent or a great grandparent or a sibling who would tell stories all the time, and you never recorded them.
Yep, that's true too.
And so, one of the things we've been doing at the museum is oral interviews.
Yep.
And so we go out, and I'll have my little recorder.
Yep.
And we record a lot of the older folks around Milford.
Love that.
And get those memories, because a lot of times they have not been recorded.
Yeah.
But if like I said, about working at the archives, you can always get the documentary history of somebody, somewhere. You can get their birth certificate, their death certificate, marriage certificate, whatever, census records. But when you actually get the information that person tells you about their life, you're going to get the stories about their life, not just the birth, death, and marriage, but you're also going to get, I remember being 10 years old. These were my friends. These are the teachers I had.
Correct.
This was my challenge when I went into the service. This was my job. This was what it was like, working here in 100%. Milford or working wherever. So getting those oral histories now is something it's key, because that source is not always going to be around.
Yeah, you can't. It's not factual. Yeah, you gotta ask them that. Yeah.
Well, no, the fact is that they're going to be gone. They're going to pass away.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can find when they're born. You can't find what they said about it. Correct.
But you can't go and ask them the question because they're not around.
100%.
So it's one of those things where you got to get that information now before something sets in, and they can't either give the information or they pass away.
I'm glad you said that.
So it's really something that's important. And we've done probably about 12 oral histories within the last probably 2 years.
Gotcha.
And two of those folks have passed away.
Yeah.
So we can't talk to them.
Yeah.
And but we have I have a person, a volunteer who I can send the information to, and she transcribes the information, which is really, it just takes forever for me to do it, at least.
I understand. No, it's tedious.
Stop the recorder, stop the recorder, and but she's actually trained in that kind of work, and she does a great job with it.
That's awesome, man.
But and just talking about the museum itself, right now we're in the midst of actually a fundraising drive to
Okay.
raise more funds for our move to the former police station.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
and,
Yes.
and we're hoping, we're getting close. We've had some really generous donations
Good, I'm
but
glad.
we still need more, of course.
That's right. We always do, right?
Yeah. We are actually located at 121 South Walnut Street, the old post office. And you asked me about one of the strangest things that have occurred. That area, that address, which is right across from the city hall.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Is the old, like I said, it's the old post office, but it has been a post office since like 1961, 62.
Yeah.
And Charles Hammond, who's the board president, we were in there earlier, I think it was last fall, and somebody actually came in to buy stamps. And we were like,
how about that?
You do know this isn't a post office, right? And they're like, well, no, we assumed this was. I'm like, no, it's down the street. And we went out afterwards and we looked around the building. It's like, is there anything here that says it's still a post office? And it wasn't. It was a younger person. It wasn't
even. Yeah, those you can't even correlate.
No,
that.
Yeah. So we got a kick out of that.
How about that? Maybe they just the look of it or something. Yeah, that's interesting.
We thought that was pretty interesting. That occurred. But no, we're in the midst of a fundraising drive to get more funds, and Johnson Construction is doing a great job with the project itself.
Awesome.
But we're also going to go in there with the Milford Chamber of Commerce, so we're going to have kind of a business section in there as well, and then a welcome center also.
Awesome, man.
So
awesome.
the city council is really in favor of this, and there's been a lot of public support. You can go online to donate if you want to.
Please. I was going to say that.
Just look up Milford Museum. Make sure you look at the Delaware one because there's a Milford in practically every single
everywhere. Yeah, you're right.
Every single state there's a Milford.
You're right.
But we also one of the things I'm proud of at the museum is we do a monthly program.
Okay.
At the museum, Leah Rossell is a Milford librarian and the head librarian, and she's been very generous in offering us the Lions Club room upstairs for a program the second Saturday of each month. And one that's coming up this Saturday is actually called Disaster Along the Brandywine. It's explosions at the...
I'll make sure we fly this picture up for everybody. I'll take a picture of that.
And that is what our program is coming up. But we've got all kinds of great stuff. And we started this... The first day of my job was July 1st, 2023, and we had a program that day.
Wow, okay.
At the museum, and I was a little despondent about it when it was done because we had 35 people, and they're like, man, we get 35? I thought we'd have like 135. And then somebody told me afterwards, they came to the museum and said, Tom, that's really good for Milford. He said,
that sounded bad.
And I said, okay, because I was just used to being at the archives where you had a bigger range of population that you pulled from. But since then, we've really pulled in a lot of folks. We've had over 3,000 people come, or almost 3,000 people come in to the programs. And
That's amazing.
We've had some really great turnouts. The last one we had was, I think we had 100 people at the last one we did on McCarthyism. Oh, no, that was, so we had 75 for the life of Dory Miller, who was a hero at Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
So we try to cover a lot of either local history or national history. So we do a combination of everything. But the ones coming up, we have one in February about the Red Ball Express, and that was a World War II story, which I don't know much about.
Okay.
But it ties in with Black History Month because it was actually truck drivers in Europe who were taking fuel and other munitions to the frontline troops. And most of the drivers were African American.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it's not a well-known story, but we've got a teacher from Polytech who actually, Dante Brazil, is actually teaching. He's teaching up there right now. But he's doing that program. We're doing one in March on the Glamour Girls, which is the portrayal of women in propaganda posters in World War II.
Okay.
So they talk about lipstick and hair and how the choices were made in order to, for the propaganda.
To sell it. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
The Scopes Monkey Trial is in April.
All right. Liking the names, man. Yeah.
So that's the whole evolution trial. The railroad comes to Delaware.
Okay.
Doug Poor from almost said Milton, but Harrington.
Okay.
A big energy guy.
All right.
And he's going to talk about that.
Awesome.
And then we're having an American Revolution program on June the 13th. So we've got a lot of good programs that are coming up. But we've done this since I started. We took December off. This is the first month, or last month was the first month I'd taken off.
Oh, good.
Since we started.
We're happy for you. Good.
Didn't want to run into the jingle bell effect. But no, we do that. And then online, we got this month in Milford history.
Okay.
And,
that's right.
and that is actually a program where I try to get Milford graduates to actually host. That's how your dad and your sister showed up, and they did the program.
Sense. Okay.
Because what I'm trying to convey here is the sense that you can graduate from Milford High School, and it'll give you a good start towards whatever career you want to go into.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of people from the public. Kind of when you call them and tell them what you want to do, they're like, "What do you want to do?" And then so I have to send it to them. This is what I want you to do. You have to play host.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So we've got some of the Reichhold sisters, actually some of my babysitters from the late '60s,
oh,
early
wow.
'70s.
Okay.
Two of the three sisters, Nancy and Jan, are serving as host. And so
a small world, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
And that's what's great about Milford
That's
is because
awesome,
you either know somebody or related to them.
You know somebody and connected somehow. Usually.
So, but Andrew, thank you for your time and thanks for the invitation.
And I appreciate you bringing these. If you don't mind, I'm gonna take
Sure.
these, send pictures of them to my editor so he can put them up and fly them up. And same with the website to support the fundraiser and everything too.
Great.
Make sure that gets flown up too. But,
Great.
Tom, thank you again, man. And it was honestly a pleasure just talking to you. And hopefully we can do this again, man.
It was nice meeting you.
Awesome.
And please say hi to the family. Tell your grandmother I said hello.
We'll do, man. We'll do. She's the one that actually got you on here. I think.
Oh, is that right?
She called me, or my wife, I believe, and she was like, "Andrew, you need to get Tom Summers on." I was like, and I knew your name. It didn't ring a bell at first. And I was like, I knew the name. And I was just like, and then she told me, I was like, oh, okay. And then I talked to Dad more because I told him you were coming on today. And he goes, oh yeah, he's awesome, man. He's like, just.
Well, I don't know about that.
He talked very nice. He don't talk. He would never talk bad about somebody. My father would never talk bad about somebody, and I have tried to take that on too because I've been very blessed to have a good leader to led me to places. So I try to do the best I can do as well. But that's all we can do, man. But thank you again, Tom. And I truly appreciate all that you're doing for the community. And we need a lot more people to do that. And I'm trying to get our generation more involved. And that's why we're doing this.
And Andrew, I think this is great what you're doing.
So I hope we're going to continue to do this. And hopefully we can get more people my age that are, wanting to really help more too.
Okay, good.
I think that's what we need. And that's what we're missing in our community. So thank you, Tom, for all you do once again.
Thank you.
And thank you for all that you do. And thank you for taking the time today to join us.
Sure, happy to.
Appreciate it, Tom. And as always, this is Who's Even Listening, episode number 26 in season 2. And thank you to everybody that tunes in. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and fly that images up. And if you'd like to support, if you're local, please do. It's a great cause, everything that he's doing. So please make sure you stay tuned into whatever he's doing. He's got a lot of events coming up as well. And as always, spread love into this world. Let's try to make this world a better place for all of us to want to live in. EOLE, everybody love everybody. And hopefully we're doing our part in influencing others that want to do that as well at home. And as always, like and subscribe if you can. Appreciate anybody that does. It means more than you ever know. And we'll continue the same message every week. And we'll see you again next Wednesday. And we're super excited for the future. So, as always, everybody have a great night, great morning, great breakfast, wherever you are. And spread love and keep doing that. And we'll see you again next week. This is Who's Even Listening, Season 2, episode number 26, signing off.